most of the use of the hub, and it's true of local authority archives generally, is for family history purposes. It's a very big strand of what we do. It's very important in Scotland because of the people who've left the area and are coming back for ancestral tourism, which is very big in Scotland. But also there's the question about the fact that when the industry existed, people were moving around, and we've found some examples of people who were born in other weaving, other cloth areas, and have come here to work, and presumably the same thing happened in the opposite direction, and that tended to reflect the prosperity of an industry in one area will have drawn people in, and then at other times people have moved on to other places. But you can do house history here, you can do bits of research about communities, you can research the buildings, what the place looked like. On the basis of some of the information we've got about the Tweed Commissioners, you could research all sorts of details about the rivers and how they were managed. We've got things like school records, lots of council records, reflecting all sorts of aspects of life, records around crime, care for people who were in financial difficulties, a sort of the whole welfare system. We've also got a lot of detailed records from many of the boroughs, which were very closely tied in with how people lived, and we've got some really good information in those, which tells you quite detailed things about how people existed. But there are also records which people are very often interested in around the celebrations and the major cultural events. So we've got quite an early reference to the common riding here. And that's something that gets people very interested, and obviously each time those events come round, then it gets people's interest up again. So wherever there's something which involved the people of the area, very often you'll find there's a record relating to it, and it's a lovely detective job that you have to do to find it. What we're trying to do with the archive is to make sure that we use whatever technologies there are to make it as easy as possible for people to do that detective work that I was talking about earlier. A lot of benefit to using the internet to do that, and I know it's not what everybody wants to do, but we're investing in that to make sure that where possible people can get good access, and it does make it easier to find the fantastic stories that are tucked away in the archives. And I've got quite a nice example here. There's quite a significant theme around people stealing yarn from mills, and we just got some extracts here from one which includes rather nice physical descriptions of people. So we've got a lady called Agnes Brown, who was the wife of one of the criminals, and it's got her physical description. So she had fair hair, grey eyes, she was full of face, her person was stout, and she was wearing a black dress, a straw bonnet and a checked shawl, and she was sentenced to 15 months imprisonment. So that's the sort of detail that you can get from these documents, and we'll use anything we can to try and make sure that those stories are shared and understood as widely as they can be. I've been talking about things in terms of them very often being, if you like, an intellectual response to things, text, writing, reading, but archives isn't just about that. You can have any response you want. You can have an emotional response as well as an intellectual one, and we're trying to work quite hard to make sure that people can engage in the archives in as many different ways as they can. These are quite nice examples because these are the plaques that were produced after work with heritage here, and this plaque's an example of one that's quite nice because it's got the tools of the surgeon at the property that was being investigated, so that's quite a nice little artistic product out of it. And wherever possible, we'd like to let people have free rein in terms of how they develop a response to the archives here, because there are so many different there's as many different ways of responding to them as there are documents probably, and we'd like to do a lot more of that, and we're very excited working with other people on the campus to try and do joined up things to make that possible.